Fallout from a clash on Capitol Hill between President Donald Trump and a member of his own party. The confrontation came as the president met with Republican leaders, happened behind closed doors, right after he abruptly just canceled the signing of a bipartisan bill that would lower housing costs. Well, President Trump, he came out and he downplayed that exchange, especially one with Bill Cassidy, where both men ordered the other to sit down. Now, despite reports of the fireworks, later in the evening, Cassidy handed the president a big victory. Cassidy and another Republican, Senator Rand Paul, reversing their positions in a new war powers resolution. Just a day earlier, 4 Republicans voted yes on a measure many saw as a rebuke of the president's handling of the war in Iran. Live now to the White House and CBS News correspondent Natalie Brand. Natalie, why the change? We thought that maybe Mr. Cassidy would hold the line, but then he changed course a little bit later in the day.
Yeah, Reed, and to back up a little bit, that heated exchange that happened behind closed doors, according to Cassidy, was over his war powers resolution vote. And he said that he demanded more information for lawmakers and for the American public, and said he would not be bullied by the president. But what we've learned now in an exclusive interview that Senator Cassidy had with Margaret Brennan in Face the Nation, he says that he handed a note to Special Envoy Steve Witkoff asking for a briefing and saying that he would consider changing his vote if he got more information. Well, he received that briefing from Witkoff and the vice president here at the White House, and then later that evening is when he changed his vote, which ultimately caused this war powers resolution to be defeated. Now, when Margaret pressed him on why he changed his vote, he said that, he wanted to know more about the administration's plans for achieving the objectives that had been laid out, including destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities and ballistic missile capabilities. And he said after this briefing, it seemed to him like there is a plausible plan. He also added, trust but verify. But this was a huge reversal by the Senate. Also interesting to note that Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, who had been voting with Democrats, he changed his vote to present and said really because hostilities have ended for now, and he's allowing these negotiations to continue.
Okay, so that's on the Senate side, but today we're understanding the president will be meeting with House Speaker Mike Johnson. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, so this comes after, that blow up yesterday over the housing bill that the president postponed the signing ceremony, saying that he is really pushing for his Save America Act, wants that to be prioritized. House Speaker Mike Johnson says he has a new plan to try to push through that legislation with the reconciliation process, which would just require a simple majority in the Senate. Because, while this measure, this elections overhaul, Save America Act that the president's been pushing for has passed the House, it's stalled in the Senate. It just does not have the votes there to overcome a filibuster. Democrats staunchly opposed. They call this a voter suppression law. Republicans have been saying that it's needed for voter security. But all that to say, Speaker Johnson wants to maybe amend the legislation to create block grants, which would ultimately change the bill. And so you have House conservatives and other conservatives saying they don't want to change the bill. The president was asked yesterday whether he would be open to some sort of compromise and said not really. So we'll have to see if Johnson sells him on this plan to try to move forward with another reconciliation, a third reconciliation bill, which already some Republicans say they don't know if that's going to be possible.
All right, we know you're watching it. Natalie Brand, thank you so much. That live report from the White House.